This presentation is on security and anhydrous ammonia. There's definitely overlap here, but there's some important information that I want you to be aware of. So I will skip through some of this quickly, but you can always pause and read the individual slides. But certainly the focus here is that anhydrous ammonia can be used to make illegal drugs. And that makes it a security risk. People who are into illegal drug manufacturing want to steal anhydrous ammonia. And agricultural operations are sometimes not as secure as they maybe should be. And so you do need to have security at some place that is a little more obvious, although historically there have been some examples of lax operations at some coolers where you've got all this anhydrous ammonia, and if somebody's trained in how ammonia refrigeration systems work, you can have somebody move in there, bleed off some of your anhydrous ammonia and drive away with it. So it's very important. Understanding behaviors that may indicate suspicious activities. Understand that specific security measures can prevent unlawful access to anhydrous ammonia. So this is focused on understanding and realizing that if you keep anhydrous ammonia as a refrigerant, a fertilizer, or any other purpose, you need to be aware that you are a target, a potential target for illegal activity, and you've got to do something about it. And that should be part of your risk management plan. So it is an industrial chemical that's used for many different things, fertilizer and refrigeration here on the diagonal, but lots of other things, cleaners and mining operations, making pulp and paper, pharmaceuticals, chemical manufacturing, and explosive. Ammonium nitrate is a very common and powerful explosive material. So these are just some of the key areas, some of which you've heard of before. Maybe some of these are new. So it's everywhere in so many different industries. I don't care where you are in the United States, there's probably an industry in your county that uses ammonia. And ammonia tanks, this is a portable ammonia tank that you would find in a fertilizer operation in agriculture, and you don't have to worry about the details of how the tank is constructed, but in a refrigeration system, it would be a stationary tank, a reservoir of some sort for the refrigeration system. It wouldn't be on one of these portable tanks used to bring to the fields to inject as a fertilizer. Now, I'm not going to spend much time here because we know it is a caustic material that causes burns, inhalation burns because of the way it reacts with water, its high pH and caustic properties, but also the freezing burns because in its liquid state, it rapidly turns to a gas when you remove the pressure, and that rapid conversion from liquid to gas takes away heat from the environment, and that means your hands or your arms or your face or wherever you got the ammonia on you, and it can cause serious burns quickly, especially dangerous to eyes and lungs. So how do you get exposed? Through pressure release valves. This is a safety valve. It's much better to have a leak through the safety valve than a tank explode. So if for some reason the pressure inside gets too high, this pressure release valve will release pressure to avoid an explosion. But as it's avoiding an explosion, you are creating a stream of ammonia gas that is a problem to the operator or anybody in the vicinity. And the tank can have a rupture. Any of the fittings, hoses, valves can also have potential leaks, and you've got to be very careful when you're working with this stuff. So you need the appropriate personal protective equipment and make sure that you are always wearing the right stuff. You need to have a squirt bottle on your person and in your vehicle for immediate eye first aid, eye flush, because the eyes are the most likely thing to get that immediate reaction. You should have water hoses near all storage tanks. You need to know the locations of emergency showers, etc. So if there is a leak and if there is an exposure, you know what to do. So what about this illegal drug use? Well, the drug manufactured is methamphetamine. And so it might be something that you know as meth or crank or ice, crystal meth, crystal. There's a lot of different names on the street for methamphetamines that can be taken orally in pill form or injected or smoked. There's a lot of ways people will use this drug. It is very dangerous. It was first used, to my knowledge, in World War II by Germany for creating these super soldiers that could stay awake for many, many extra hours or even days. Not many, many days, but certainly they can stay awake for days, and created a bunch of junkies and drug addicts during World War II. But it certainly also created a challenging force because they lost their inhibitions. They didn't have the same sleep needs, at least for a little while. They would crash afterwards and they didn't necessarily make the best decisions, but they were go, go, go. It is a speed. It is something that amps you up and speeds you up. And so that's the draw. A lot of people have taken it in a lot of forms. I know a number of people in the construction industry, you know, a little crank and with your morning coffee before going to work in construction, and boy, you could knock out that 16-hour day and get so much work done. And not a good idea. It wears on the body. It's major bad stuff. Now this is old. This is nearly 20 years old, but it doesn't matter. There are meth labs that have been identified. I have no idea how many have not been identified, but back then, these were meth labs identified back in 2002. It continues to be a serious problem. Meth labs are generally relatively low budget operations, and they have very dangerous materials that they utilize to manufacture meth. It is not one of the safest things to make. You know, some other illegal drugs like LSD, it's not something that you're too worried about from a safety standpoint because you're not doing extremely dangerous reactions with dangerous chemicals. Meth labs are seriously dangerous. They become highly toxic sites. This trailer was used as a meth lab at one point, and just hiding in the brush, either using somebody else's property. So if you get busted, it's, hey, that's somebody else's property. It wasn't ours. You know, some place that wasn't used a lot, some hunting property that doesn't have a lot of activity, or maybe national forest land or something with in a low traffic area. These meth labs can be all over the place. Lots of garbage, and some of the garbage can be extremely hazardous. So they sometimes need to use hazmat suits. Now, this guy here isn't dressed with any hazmat material, but some of the dump sites can be highly toxic. So you need to educate employees about anhydrous ammonia theft so they understand that anhydrous ammonia is a target. You need to store any tanks in well-lit areas. You need to know what your inventory is. You need to inspect tanks every morning and before every use. Consider valve locks, fences, and other physical security measures, and consider other deterrents rather, such as motion detector lights, alarms, security patrols, or video surveillance. So these are some ideas. Now, this is really targeted at the ag operations that use anhydrous ammonia as a fertilizer because you're using ammonia. You buy more, you use it, you buy more, you use it. It's a very different scenario with anhydrous ammonia fertilizer than anhydrous ammonia refrigerant. When you're using it as a refrigerant, you have a facility. The facility is generally in a single location, locked up. There are portable cooling facilities, so it's not all of them, but these locations, a cooler or cold warehouse, they have extremely good environments to set up security. And you should have 24-hour security patrol, very limited access to where you could just bleed off any anhydrous ammonia. Certainly you shouldn't have access to valves and bleeding off that material easily from the outside of a building. There should be some sort of a mechanics room where most of the maintenance and stuff is located. Now there will be something on the outside that could be accessed, but you can set that up with ways to lock it securely and with on-site security where refrigerated facilities are less of a problem. Legal responsibility. Facilities handling extremely hazardous chemicals, including anhydrous ammonia, have a general duty to assess hazards, design and maintain a safe facility, and minimize the consequences of accidental releases. That's a statement direct from the Clean Air Act of 1970, and there are a number of other things since 1970 that add layers of responsibility for the safety of highly hazardous chemicals, as well as plans to deal with any sort of emergency. Blotel. Blotel is an additive that causes anhydrous ammonia to leave a bright pink stain. So anhydrous ammonia with Blotel not only can help you identify if there are leaks in a system, but also if your system has been tampered with an attempt to steal the material by some illegal drug traffickers or manufacturers. So Blotel is a great material in the right situation. Not something that you would use in a stationary cooling facility, but it is something that you could use for anhydrous ammonia used in a fertilizer environment. Take a short break here.